I'm Jan Alzada, a student here at the University of Wisconsin-Baraboo, Sauk County, and I would like to show you the improvements that have been made here to create a greener, more environmentally friendly campus. I sat down with David Armstrong to discover what makes UW-Baraboo one of the greenest campuses in the state. I'm here with our Assistant Campus Dean of Administration and Finance. David, thank you for meeting with us.
Very welcome.
So UW-Baraboo is one of the greenest of the two-year colleges. What does that mean?
As we've talked about before, there's no real way, there are plenty of ways to measure green. Electric consumption, water consumption, recycling, and campuses measure it in different ways. Unfortunately, that takes time and effort, and so nobody really tracks it within the UW colleges system anyway, the 2 years. But anecdotally, certainly, I know that the number of things that we have implemented over the last few years make us much more green than most of our sister two-year campuses.
So I understand when this campus was built that there was some problems with the lighting in the gymnasium?
Among other places, sure. Our gym was constructed in the late 90s as part of the student center, and it used really old lighting technology. Sodium metal halide, if I recall the term correctly. You'll recognize them. They're the big can lights that produce a really yellow kind of low light. They're expensive to maintain, expensive to power, but it's also expensive to replace. And part of our energy project that we installed a couple of years ago allowed us to have the money to basically tear those out and put in high efficiency, very bright white fluorescent lamps. We did a light study before the old lights were pulled out, and I think we were at something like 14 foot candles in the gymnasium, which is basically like dusk, right? That's a low light for a rec space. And now we're over 100 foot candles, so almost 10 times the amount of lighting, I guess 8 times the amount of lighting, and yet consuming a lot less energy than we were before.
What upgrades have we done to our HVAC system?
We've implemented digital direct controls in many areas, meaning that the heating, ventilation, air conditioning are controlled by a computer and by the network, where before they were manual set points. An example of that, if you look on my wall right over there, you see the little square box above the light switch. You have to go around and adjust it manually, and so every space within the building could be at different set points, and now it's all done centrally by a single computer.
When I drive into school, I see the solar panels that are on the outside of the building. What impact have those made?
There's 44 panels on the roof. You only see one set that are hanging off the front of the building. There's 3 more sets up on top of the roof. It's helped to reduce the electrical consumption of the Lang Center. It's an 18 kilowatt system, equivalent roughly to maybe 2 small houses in energy consumption. The Lang Center is about 50,000 square feet, whereas an average house is maybe 15 to 1,800 square feet. Certainly, the whole campus is a big consumer of energy in order to be able to keep it open and warm for students and staff, but it's helped to reduce slightly the amount of consumption.
Now, were some of those design features that you were talking about, like the concrete floors and the computer technology, in this new science building?
That building was designed from the beginning with current technologies in mind. All the lighting is on motion sensors. It's all high efficiency lighting. The windows, and there are a number of windows in the building in order to allow natural lighting, which helps then reduce the amount of manufactured lighting that you need. All the windows have high glazing on them, very energy efficient glazing. So they're not passive solar receptors. The roof is a green roof, which provides a nice layer of insulation on top of the building, so we don't have to install like foam insulation, for example. Also allows the building to double essentially as an outdoor stage. You can go up onto the roof, which is kind of cool. The concrete floor, it's concrete flooring throughout, so it's very low maintenance there. Somebody might say, well, so what? Well, we were spending a lot of money and time waxing floors and vacuuming carpets previously. That's money, it's time, it's wasted product, quite honestly. Wax is very expensive and it's not very good for the environment. So by getting rid of the flooring that requires that, now we have a nice looking concrete floor that only requires an occasional mopping. So, again, that's a sustainable thing that it's right there in front of you, even though you may not think about it on a regular basis.
So was upgrading the computer technology part of making this campus so green?
Yes, when we installed the software to help manage the computer energy usage, to basically cause them to go into hibernation, to shut monitors down. Unfortunately, a byproduct of the modern world is that monitors and computers consume a lot of power. So the more you can keep them shut off when they're not being used, the better off we'll be.
So with all of these changes, how much energy is being saved per year?
In 2010-2011, we consumed about 1.5 million kilowatt hours, and the cost of that was about $245,000. In 2014-15, we had reduced that to about 1.1 million kilowatt hours. So a reduction of about 25% in consumption. And even though oil prices have fluctuated, our expenditure on utilities is down to $201,000 as of last year.
So what are some changes that could be implemented in the future?
There's any number of things that still could be retrofitted into the existing building. I mean, even though we have mostly digital controls now, there are still some pneumatic, manually changed HVAC controls. There's a number of areas where we could benefit just from simple things like motion sensors. But there's no reason for the lights to be on in a hallway when nobody's walking down it for 20 minutes. So there's little savings and big savings. I would love to see even more recycling and less trash going out the door. We've reduced our trash production considerably, and our recycling has increased quite a bit in the last few years. But there are more things that we could be doing to, keep cardboard, keep plastic out of the trash stream and put it in the recycle. And it's education. It's about getting people to think about what they're doing. I'd love to see us better reduce our water consumption. And all of these things that we're able to do not only help promote the sustainability of the campus and educate students and community members on taking care of the environment, but they also help reduce your cost of education.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to see that this is something that's on students' minds and that is important to you guys, because ultimately it's there's only going to be less oil in the world, and there's going to be probably a lot more people consuming things. So however we can be smart about it is good.
Thanks for watching. We hope we have given you some ideas to take back to your campus to help preserve the environment so we can all have a brighter tomorrow.